Hey, what's going on, guys? So earlier this year, I brought somebody onto my team. His name is Andrew Marr. Andrew is a Green Beret. He was a special operator who served in Afghanistan, and his specialty was as an engineer. So what he would do is he would go up to doors and he'd wire them with explosives and blow the door before the team would go in. And after working with explosives so much, he got several concussions. Now, he came back from all of his tours in Afghanistan without a scratch. He had all his arms, all his legs, all his fingers, everything. Never wounded, never actually blown up. He was knocked out once. But things started to go awry for him. He started getting depressed. He started losing focus and losing concentration. And at one point, he couldn't even walk in a straight line. He also became an alcoholic and really was a shadow of his former self. And at a certain point, his wife was in labor at the hospital or about to go in labor. And she asked him if he couldn't drink that night. So if she needed to go to the hospital, he could drive her. Right? So that's how bad of an alcoholic he was. At that point, he got the message and he said, all right, I'm going to go fix this. So he started doing research and he came across a guy named Dr. Mark Gordon. Now, Dr. Gordon is one of the top interventional endocrinologists in the world. The reason why I'm talking to all of you about this is because one of the things I want to do on this channel is to start to educate young men about potential hormone deficiencies. In particular, I want to use this information to also help the veteran community and other people who might be suffering from similar conditions. Now, a lot of us might think that testosterone deficiencies and hormone deficiencies just come from a malfunction of the genitalia. Our testicles don't work anymore. But it's so much more than that. The brain plays such an important role in hormone production. It produces all the precursors to testosterone, DHEA, pregnenolone. Those are both produced in glands that are located in the brain. So if we get a traumatic brain injury, this can seriously affect our hormonal production down the line. Not only that, it doesn't have to be a crazy traumatic brain injury. You could get knocked on the head. If you've had concussions from high school football or wrestling or any sport, if you've dealt with brain injury in any circumstance, this could happen to you. So my goal here, I put a few videos out on this. My goal here is to educate you about this. And so we brought in Dr. Gordon to test another member of my team, Tony Floreal. Tony he runs the Floreality blog on the Warrior Soul site. He is one of my best friends in the world. He went to London with me. We put that video out a few weeks ago. And Tony decided to take on Dr. Gordon's protocol because Tony's had some brain injuries in the past as well. So we're going to be following Tony through this process. It should be really interesting for those of you who want to nerd out on this kind of stuff. And for those of you who may have had a concussion at some point in your life, pay attention. I'll post all the links for everything on the blog site. So I'll post the link to the blog below, and you'll be able to get the links to Millennium Healthcare. If you're a veteran suffering from traumatic brain injury, the Warrior Angels Foundation, which my brother Andrew Marr heads up to try to help other veterans to get this kind of help. So with that, let's get into the video.
Give me a couple squeezes. Beautiful. Now the fun
Was
part.
it so bad?
This part might take a little while though.
Yeah, I barely felt that.
Good.
Tony Floreal here with Dr. Mark Gordon at his office here in Encino, California.
Encino, haven't moved.
So I just got my blood analysis done, and Dr. Gordon is going over it with me here. And this is to make sure that my brain is healthy, all the levels in my blood are at the right levels.
Right.
And essentially, God knows how many times I've hit my head in my life, especially playing ice hockey. So the good news is, whatever I'm doing is working. So
Yeah, well, it's not the head that's the puck; it's the puck that's the puck. So you got to watch what you're hitting around. No, with you and your history relative to the number of and the diversity of traumatic brain injury or the head injuries that you've had, and you don't need to have any loss of consciousness. You've maintained the majority of your hormones in very good range for optimal health. But this is not the usual case that I see in our veterans or in people with multiple motor vehicle accidents or singular motor vehicle or with slip and falls or with bicycle accidents, being hit by a car on a bicycle, where their hormones are so disrupted that it creates a problem with their emotional and cognitive well-being. And that's who I see a lot of people with injuries, whether or not it's from football, rugby, hockey from Russia, I have hockey players from Russia, entire diversity. And the biggest fallacy is you think you have to be knocked unconscious. You don't need to be knocked unconscious in order to have this process of disruption of hormones that regulate our personality and our emotional stability. So take a second look at your history relative to injuries and reassess them. Have someone look close.
So I wanted to go through this process myself so I'd understand what everybody else is actually going through when they go through Dr. Mark Gordon's protocol. I've had all these type of head injuries in the past, so it's reassuring to know that whatever I'm doing is enabling me to have normal or within the median
Right.
ranges.
Right. Within the median ranges, a couple of the markers are low, and that's what we're going to address and see if we can get some benefit on your functionality.
Absolutely. And so even anxiety, which I've suffered from many years of my life, certain supplements will be able to help with that.
Correct. And these are nutraceuticals. These are natural products that have pharmaceutical benefits on the body. Because they're not patentable, they therefore can't be produced or aren't willing to be produced by pharmaceutical or by pharma. So you can get them over the counter. And 90% of our products come from nature, from Mexican wild yams, and they're all real medications, what we call nutraceuticals.
Awesome. And so this is the protocol that he uses for, like you said, veterans that
Correct.
have gone through blast traumas. Doesn't necessarily have to be anybody that has been knocked unconscious.
Correct.
But certainly those cases as well.
Right.
And,
it's extremes, it's the range, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in severity, but we're finding people with, no history of actual any wound to their body, any visible wound to their body, but the wounds in the brain. And as we were talking about at lunch, a Dr. Daniel Pearl out of Yale or Harvard, who's a neuropathologist, specializes in looking at the brains of people who have died from head trauma or PTSD. And what he found were these people that were called PTSD, which is a psychological diagnosis, they actually had physical damage to the brain, and that's the traumatic brain injury.
Awesome. So, we're going to leave it at that. But thank you, Dr. Mark Gordon.
Thank you.